Hello and welcome in. This is a quick excerpt from the Capricorn new moon empowerment reading that I had just recorded yesterday ahead of today's new moon in Capricorn, the first new moon of 2026, the last new moon of the year of the wood snake. So we get into all of it in this over 1 hour empowerment reading. This is about a 12-minute excerpt where I would just like to share with everyone the Queen of the Sun and Queen of the Moon oracle energies that came forward to kick off the messages. We also covered the astrological weather around this new moon. We talked about a ritual that you can do in the coming days to really work in this new moon energy, as well as a 4-card tarot spread with an oracle message to really round out the energies that are available at this time to work with in a way that is about new moon, new cycle, initiating new, yes, but really we talk about why this new moon has an air of release, shedding, and letting go before we truly step into the new. So I have this here for you to check out, see what came up in those two oracle decks to really set the tone across this first new moon of the year and setting us into this new cycle. And then if you're interested in getting the full reading, feel free to reach out. I have a link that'll be shared to book that new moon reading, or you can just let me know and I will get that over to you. And then we do a personal card pull just for you to see exactly how these messages that have come in with this new moon are coming in specifically for you, and as well as taking a look at anything specific that you may have going on around this new moon. So I hope you enjoy this little sneak peek, and join me over on the Empowerment Sharecast, where we'll be getting into all of our collective card pulls for this week ahead and the intuitive messages forthcoming. Thanks so much. So we begin here with our overarching energy, which we're tapping into both the Queen of the Sun and the Queen of the Moon, since we have both the Sun and Moon in the sign of Capricorn for this lunation. So we received from the Queen of the Sun the Life card, Soul Invictus, and from Queen of the Moon, I think a frequent flyer we've seen quite regularly, the Path, card number 8. So we'll take a look at that in just a moment. But let's look at this beautiful life card, Soul Invictus, number 14, Memento Mori. It says, remember, you will die one day. Stay focused on the miracle of life and do not waste time. We are free and unconquered in our minds. Take the high road. Watch your ethics. Do not allow the wishes of others to always take up your time. Do not be disrespected. So it brings forward this mantra, I live each day with vitality and richness. Sol Invictus was one of the earliest and most powerful deities of the Roman Empire. The Romans understood that Sol died on 21st December, the winter solstice, before being reborn around 25th December. Those magical 3 days are the darkest and shortest of the year in the northern hemisphere, and the Sol Invictus rebirth signals the return of the irrepressible sunlight. He was beloved by emperors and the people alike, and was a patron of soldiers who worshipped him as a link to the ideas of victory, bravery, and never being conquered. If they died in battle, they would know that Sol Invictus would allow them an afterlife. For powerful rulers like the emperors who arose after Caesar, linking oneself to a sun god seemed to be good branding. The Roman Emperor Aurelian, his gens aura came to mean light, made it an official cult alongside the traditional Roman cults, and linked himself with the deity in coinage and in his patronage of festivals. In 321 AD, Constantine decreed dies solis, day of the sun or Sunday, as the Roman day of rest and a day of worship for Sol Invictus. While some scholars argue that 25th December, Christmas Day, was linked to the original Sol Invictus festival, Jesus was another figure of hope and light said to be born on this date, and that perhaps the Christians wove the dates together. Some other scholars argue that celebrations of the birth of Christ on this date predate the Romans. Sol Invictus demonstrated to the people that even in dire circumstances, the light prevailed and that hope was unconquerable. Hope was always important, as was loyalty and goodwill. Giving and sharing, even through the darkest of times, was important for the community. So that brings us into the message of the return of the light, I feel, and tuning into cycles. The cycles of the rhythm of the sun, the rhythm of the earth, and the way in which we move about it. And of course, that took us into the mythos of this God and the way that he was beloved by emperors and people, and how it evolved over time, and also even tapped into different schools of thought and belief around the origins, and how that aligns with certain dates that have been pinpointed for different festivals and celebrations and birth dates and such. So it brings us into letting those beliefs, letting what we believe and value and worship, if we will, or put our energy of intention into, be resonant with what strikes that chord, what alights in us, and then doing that with gusto, with whatever that may be that we put that energy and intention into. I live each day with vitality and richness. So I can see where we could pull this into this framework, this foundational structure that we're trying to get to the bottom of, or reach for, what areas are we still in resonance with, what beliefs, what ideas, what practices are serving, and which ones that we are going to release and let go in order to have a dawn on new ideas, new beliefs, new understandings, expanded understandings. So this is a card 14, which the 1 and 4 gives us 5. So of course it tells us that, we are in this period of change and transition, an ending to a new beginning, a wrapping up to an initiating something new. And so I have here in the background, if you can see it, my little sign that says, trust the magic of new beginnings. And I wanted to bring that in, of course, because we are in the year of the magician. This is a new moon, and we're moving through these phases and utilizing that energy to ignite our lives with some momentum. So with that, we're going to look at the Queen of the Moon Oracle message, the path. And, again, one that we have certainly looked at before. I always make my Alice in Wonderland reference here as she stands there idly looking up at that portal. And it says, I am open and responsive to the opening of the way. So this light that's returning slowly, as I'm recording this on January 17th, I've been starting to see the little messages that pop up that say, from December 21st, the longest night, then we have the return of the light in the northern hemisphere, of course. So we have this feeling of each day we incrementally get closer to the opening of the way that lights up the new, that initiates us into that new cycle with the return of the sun. So the path comes in saying that the way is open for you. The path is illuminated. Begin the journey now. Respond and take action. We must be courageous and move forward. So it's saying that when we accept where we are, acknowledge what needs to change in order to grow, and begin to love ourselves more completely, the direction of our lives begins to change. We often decide that we want to follow a more authentic way for ourselves, and our desires become more aligned with the needs, wants, and values of our true selves. So if we were to imagine that we were lost in a dark forest and can hardly see, there's no visible path and every way looks exactly the same, we feel burdened by those shadows. And we're not sure that we should even move because we're so paralyzed by fear and uncertainty. So that's the perception of being in the dark, lights out, right? Can't see the forest for the trees. But then the sunshine somehow breaks through the clouds and the leaf canopy, and there ahead is a path, illuminated in golden light. And it's clear now the direction that we should take. The path is not only visible, but it's inviting us forward. And so instead of just standing there, we can't wait to step on it and move forward. The path was lit, and now is time to walk upon it. So that's a really beautiful way of looking at the way that the Queen of the Sun set the tone around solstice, set the tone around the lack of light to the gradual returning of light, and the path the same, to say that when I look up that rather rickety ladder and it's all dark, and I can't see, I might be paralyzed in fear. I might be standing there unable to make a move because I'm very focused on what there's a lack of light, perhaps a lack of clarity, a lack of seeing what's on the other side. With the return of the light, with shedding light, shedding illumination, which to me also means taking time to sit with or look at that particular shadowy thing that perhaps we haven't wanted to deal with or didn't realize it was still lurking in the corners, that by shining a light on all of those things, which we could even look at as taking this moment to kind of go over everything, to look over all and see, hey, where am I standing right now? Let me just look right here at my feet as I get my bearings, as my eyes adjust in this darker time. Where am I? What's going on in the here and now, using my senses, tuning into how I feel, and then shine a light on it. Put some intention and some focus on all of these different areas to say what feels forward moving and expansive and what feels as if it is retracting and pulling back from this ascension, this path. That I look at this rickety ladder, that I now start to have some clarity by letting the light in, and then hand over hand, wrong over wrong, I take one intentional step at a time. And that's the thing. We're still pacing ourselves here. And even as I look at our spread, it isn't until the last card, which is the more forward moving intention of, well, now what can I anticipate over the next 6 months? Everything else is rather intentional and deliberate, and we're taking our time with it. It's slowing us down. We have the Hanged Man, we have Pentacles energy. So we're going to feel into those messages through the tarot now, but this does feel really aligned and the 8 too. As I've been recording the year ahead readings, a lot of people have been getting 8 or infinity symbols, the number 8 or the infinity energy of ebbs and flows and ups and downs, and how it's all so cyclical and interconnected and never interrupted. It's always in one state or another or in transition. And that's kind of what we're tapping into here with the 5 energy and the 8. So let's take that now into our spread and check out that first card that's coming up. Hello, new moon greetings to you. I'm coming in on a snowy Sunday evening. Here where I am, yes, we have had some weather over the last 24 hours, and I am just settling in here in these new moon energies. The new moon is in progress as we speak in terms of peaking in this energy a little earlier today, and we move into this week with the Capricorn new moon, the first new moon of the year, as I mentioned, that's kind of acting like really clearing out and a final sweep just before initiating into a new cycle. So I hope you enjoyed the messages. If you check them out, you can see the residuals here of our new moon altar, where I have both the Queen of the Sun and Queen of the Moon energies that came forward to support us here as we move into this week. Also have out the beautiful Violet Dragon Master Clearance and Dragon Defense energy that came in through the Dreamweaver message with that new moon empowerment reading. So I've just been infusing the space here with, I did the moon magic. I'm going to do that beautiful Violet Dragon energy as well. You know, I love a matchy moment, and you might have caught that on the time-lapse card pull there on the little video I shared, the excerpt, bringing this in. As I say, I have to keep my mouth closed with this one. It makes me sneeze or cough. There's something in it. It's so beautiful. It smells so nice, but it gets me. So I hope everybody's well. Holy, it's just been a lot. There's been so much moving, and I feel like today I definitely felt a shift and a lightening. So I'm a little bit giddy right now, a little bit punchy, I guess. So I guess we'll see what that does for us as we get into the card pulls. But definitely needed that. Really have that weight taken off, because there was a lot of buildup, at least from my experience, and a lot of my friends and people who I've been talking to through as we were building up to this new moon, and now as we're moving through it. And hey, on the other side, we've got Aquarius season arriving tomorrow. Yay! Happy birthday to all the Aquarians out there. I have 2 of them in my household with birthdays coming up, and they're both big ones. They're decade-making birthdays. I have an incoming 10-year-old and an incoming 50-year-old in my house. So we're excited, and I am an Aquarius moon and rising. So yeah, we have a lot of that energy going on here, and really excited to see the shift and feel the shift in the energies as we move in. So it'll be interesting to see. We'll talk a little bit about it in the astrological weather. I have a ton of things to touch on for this week about that. And of course, now we're going to consult our cards. We're going to take a look at the beautiful winter season tarot and the Dreamweaver Oracle. So I'll start tuning in here. And like I said, we'll talk about some of the other energetic aspects as we move into this week. But for sure, the headliner here, this new moon in Capricorn and the arrival of Aquarius season. But there's a lot of headliner showstoppers out there this year, and we do have some of them building up. So we'll talk about that. And we're going to shuffle here and see what wants to come forward for our week ahead spread, which starts with the Monday energy, which sort of sets the tone for the week ahead. My goodness, that King of Swords last week was so on point. I don't know how those of you I didn't catch up with this week experienced it, but for those of us here, oh, look at this. Wow. Those of us here that did chat, we know. Okay. This is awesome. This is our signature card of the year, the universal energy for 2026, the Magician. So how awesome to kick off Aquarius season and this new cycle that is coming in on the back of the Capricorn new moon with the Magician energy. So that is super cool to have that come in and start our week, the Magician. And what a gorgeous depiction of that it is. Okay, so Magician energy starting us off, sparking us into what is possible to make some magic, to wield our wands out there. That's been my phrase. That's been coming up a lot in the year ahead readings. I've been very head down over here with all of the year ahead readings, and we're making some headway. Some of you have already received your year ahead readings. Some of you I know anxiously awaiting. They are making their way to you. So I will be in touch as those become available. And for anyone who would like to join, you are welcome as well to check out the 2026 year ahead spread. Biggest reading of the year, 26 cards, 20 of them in your personal reading. These readings are running 90 minutes to 2 hours long. My goodness. In addition to the 1 hour that I already shared for part 1. So it is a huge, huge reading and an amazing resource for you to have for the year ahead. So check that out if you feel called. And then, of course, that new moon empowerment reading that I just previewed for you, that is also available now for you. Okay, Tuesday, a potential block or challenge this week. Potential block or challenge. Ooh. I don't usually take two. Let's see. Just take the one that wants to land. Ooh. 8 of Swords. Oh, or 9 of Swords. Wow. Okay. Well, we're going to go with the 8 of Swords, but isn't that interesting that the 8 and the 9 lined up in this very well shuffled deck? We got these sequential cards. So this one we know winked at us big time. But what that tells us is, for sure, we got to get out of our heads. We got to get out of our heads because there's so much here that's more imagined than real, and also really sticking us in this analysis paralysis that's not serving. Funny story about this one. All right, we'll talk about that as our Tuesday card. Put that 9 of Swords back in there and shuffle up for Wednesday, which is going to be a midweek blessing. Midweek blessing. Okay. Midweek blessing coming in for us for the collective this week. What do we need to know there? Oh, look at this, a bonus card. It's Sleigh Ride. Awesome. Can't wait to see. I don't know that I've seen this one ever. Sleigh Ride is going to be a special message for us. Loving that as a beautiful blessing. Gorgeous card. That is what our trees look like right now. It is really pretty. It really is pretty. This Leo sun has not made any qualms about needing warmth and sunlight on a regular basis. But that being said, it is beautiful. So, Thursday. How are we growing? How are we growing this week, this first month of the year? How might we expect to grow through Aquarius season? Let's see what's coming in through the layers. Thursday energy. 5 of Wands. Okay, is the juice worth the squeeze? Victory, but at what cost? No, that's 5 of Swords. I'm feeling, okay. Yeah, no, this one is, I know why I thought that, because they're throwing snowballs at each other. I saw what they were doing there. Oh my gosh, that's so cute with the pupper. 5 of Wands is stirring the poo. So it's very similar frequency that I'm feeling there between those two energies, a 5 of Swords, a 5 of Wands, but 5 of Wands indeed. So we'll focus on that for our growth. This is a super fun spread. I mean, this whole deck is so fun with the winter season energy, but this is really tapping into all the wintry things between the sleigh ride, the snowball fight, licking an icicle. I mean, this is what I'm saying. I'm going to have a story for you guys on my end, but like, who's done it? I want to see a show of hands. Throw me an emoji. Give me a comment. All right. Friday is wrapping up our week. 1 card. Perfect. And Knight of Cups. Beautiful. Wow. Look at that majestic polar bear. Knight of Cups coming in with the love, with the heart-centered focus. So can't wait to check out that one too. And let's pull our final message for the week. The oracle card that will punctuate all these messages is coming from the Dreamweaver's Oracle. To go with this card, which I get into deeply in the New Moon Empowerment reading, was number 2, Let the Fire Dragons Sleep. So we're going to pull another card here for this particular reading that we're tuning in for, finishing out our collective week ahead messages. Okay. Ooh, number 32. Oh, wow. That's awesome. I think it actually might go this way. When it's time to say goodbye. Ooh, I'm getting chills. That's really beautiful. So we've got this blue dragon and this adorable axolotl. 5 energy, 32, 3 and the 2 is really, really tuning me into how we're growing the 5 of Wands to the 5 frequency of when it's time to say goodbye. Wow. Yeah, really powerful, because so much of what's playing out right now for each of us is a microcosm of the macrocosm of what is happening in humanity. And it's so appropriate that this is happening. And on the other side comes Aquarius season, because, we've talked at length here about the age of Aquarius, Pluto in Aquarius, the type of change and transformation and absolute just skyrocketing into the future that is taking place. And it's just getting started. I mean, we just have the first year under our belt of Pluto and Aquarius for the next 2 decades. And so it's so much about having to say goodbye to what is leaving. All different relationships, identities, things in our lives, just so many things. I mean, I was going through my clothes today and sorting through, things that just have been hanging in my closet forever. And it's time to say goodbye. It's time to let it go, and to create space for the new. And so that I'm really feeling that. So I'm really curious to see exactly what comes forward in the oracle for that one. Okay, beautiful spread coming in here. Let's get into it now with a little astrological weather, and we'll take it from there with our intuitive messages. All right, let's get started with some astrological weather for this week as we start in the here and now. Today, January 18th, as I'm recording this, we had the new moon in Capricorn, which was bringing in this energy of planting seeds for your legacy. So this is a new moon that supports planning for long-term stability and personal authority in a career path, in your work in the world, and intentions that are planted here grow through discipline and clear structure that lasts for many years to come. So setting the stage now ensures an abundant future that sustains lifestyle indefinitely and securely. So once again, that's why it's so important that we are preparing the soil. We're preparing the foundation that we are making these long-term plans on, which is why when we turn over the soil, we find there's some old stuff, some weeds, some, things that need to be cleared out before we do so. So that's where these things have been kind of happening hand in hand. We're building up to this new moon. You might have had a whole lot of stuff popping off that was like really just out of whack, like leaving, ending, feeling like this just can't go on like this. So even if we are having do-overs, fresh starts in our life, in the realm of our relationships, our work in the world, new starts in our spaces, like I said, going through things, clearing, releasing, shedding, redoing things, moving things around, it's creating that template, that momentum in order to move into the new. So again, like I said, we go deep into this in the new moon empowerment reading. If you're interested in joining, that's already recorded for you with the part 1, and then part 2, we'll pull some personal cards for you. Also today, Mercury sextiles Saturn and trine Uranus. So this is about clarity arriving from higher realms, coming in through insight that blends logic with divine inspiration perfectly and seamlessly. So the guidance is feeling exact and timely while directly bringing in this higher understanding from the universe itself. So complex problems vanish quickly with a single brilliant thought, right? An aha moment of clarity that changes everything for the better. So this, I love it when we're talking about something that's happened in real time, because we have that to look at and say, hey, what's been going on for me today? I'm talking about Sunday, but we're talking about, if something did really change and shift for you in the best way, or in a way that created some new, exciting, positive energy, that's something that's coming up there with this single stroke of clarity that could have come in for something today that helps to shift things. Now, as we step into the week, Monday, the 19th, I mentioned the sun enters Aquarius. So this is about awakening to your true potential. awareness shifts toward the highest potential and future direction in life and humanity starting right now, today, right? So identity aligns with originality and unique contribution to the collective world all around. Stepping into the future self allows for leading others with innovation and bold hope. So we're just kicking off and stepping into a season of that energy. So like I said, I'm excited to tune into the energies of how we're growing and what we might expect throughout the season ahead. Now, along with the sun moving into Aquarius, we also on the 19th have Venus conjunct Pluto. And this is where deep alchemy transforms your heart. So intimacy deepens to trigger emotional transformation and powerful shifts in our closest connections immediately. So this is something that shifts quickly. And those bonds intensify to reveal the truth beneath surface dynamics for total healing and rebirth. So changing from the inside out occurs through the intense power of deep and alchemical love. Yeah, beautiful. Venus and Pluto going deep and being in that realm of love and relationships and the heart. So really feeling that, looking ahead at our spread, we end with that Knight of Cups, that chivalrous romantic that they are. So there really is this energy coming in this week. And I love to hear how quickly things can shift too, because I know that we've had so much guidance about patience and pause and slow down. And we still have a bit of that to go, but at least we have that transit this week coming in right at the top on Monday. Two more things for Monday, the 19th. Also, Saturn sextile Uranus. New paths become solid ground. So unexpected rewards emerge through the consistent effort and patience shown recently in work. So progress integrates change with stability to deliver results that are earned rightfully over a long period of time. So tangible fruits of labor start to materialize right before your eyes to really prove true worth. It's that physical manifestation, that evidence of. We often say about the Pentacles as the slowest moving suit of the tarot because it is earth energy. It's material, which is the last place that it all shows up. From the spark, the idea, the insight, to the actual physical manifestation holding the fruit in my hand. And we can feel this energy has shifted now where we do start to see some of that materializing. Also on Monday the 19th, we have Mars trine Uranus and sextile Saturn. So this is action aligns perfectly with destiny. So hard work, suddenly, there we go again with the quickness, suddenly pays off through decisive and well-timed action that hits the mark perfectly. So forward motion flows efficiently as focused effort meets the perfect opportunity sent to the path. Well, if you listened already to our Queen of the Sun and Moon oracle energies that are setting us into this week, the Queen of the Moon card was the path. And I talk about that, and I can tell you there was so many synchronicities that came up in the tarot cards in the new moon reading as well that were so pointing back to the path as a phrase. So the fact that it's also in our astrological weather, I get another little spiritual breadcrumb winking at me there. So striking while the iron is hot secures a place in the future permanently and undeniably. Yeah, so we're moving into this much quicker manifestation, not so much hemming and hawing and questioning, am I good enough? Do I have enough? Can I do this? What if I fail? No, I get the inspired idea. It comes in a flash and I take inspired action, not rashly or impulsively, but without the hemming and the hawing. And we'll talk about that because that's aligned with our Tuesday potential block or challenge as well, is the, opportunity for us to get out of the head and get moving. Now, speaking of moving, we can finally move on in the week. That was all Monday, by the way. Now we move into Tuesday, the 20th, and we have Mercury sextile Neptune. Spirit whispers the answers clearly. So understanding arrives intuitively to establish certainty without any need for logical proof or explanation. So inner knowing guides communication to ensure the message arrives softly and clearly to the listener. So trusting gut instinct becomes easy because it sparks the absolute truth directly to the soul. Beautiful. Well, and I'm looking here, and everything that's coming up in this day of Tuesday and throughout the rest of our updates here, there's Mercury involved. And Mercury is the planet of our thoughts, our ideas, the mind, our communication. So very interesting that we do have, as our potential blocker challenge this week, a card from the Swords suit. That's our 8 of Swords, where she's licking the icicle. So we do have stuff going on in the mind, our thoughts, and the way we're communicating. So along with that transit, also on the 20th, Tuesday, we have Mercury enters Aquarius. So once again, mind connects to cosmic wisdom. The mind opens to broader awareness and future focused through patterns that inspire change. So ideas arrive through sudden insight rather than the repetition of old mental loops or habits. I love that, because what that's saying is, instead of the groundhog over and over again having to repeat these old mental loops or habits and ways of being, it's actually coming through a sudden flash of insight. There really is this sense of just knowingness. And so with that, we work on our trust and our faith in what we're getting, because when we're really clear on connecting in with our inner wisdom, our wise self, our team spirit, then we can sort of relax into the holding space for those ideas and those flashes of insight to come in, and then taking that inspired action. On the 22nd, we have Mercury conjunct Pluto. So hidden truth rises to light. Deep truths surface to clear the air and restore absolute honesty to connections. So conversations reveal what was hidden to allow resolution and clarity to enter the space fully. Speaking with immense power transforms reality and clears the air completely and finally. Wow. So this is really huge. And I've been experiencing this in my personal life, friends of mine, clients of mine that I've been working with around this energy of, speaking our truth and showing up authentically and saying things. And by the way, this is where the King of Swords set our week last week that I was saying was so aligned for so many of us. That is absolute embodiment of speaking our truth directly, clearly, and authentically without being cruel or harsh or cutting, but also not getting lost under a shroud of people pleasing and performing and loading it up with sugar instead of speaking directly with where we're coming from. And what we're finding is, and it's a little crunchy, this process of maybe shifting the way that we communicate in our relationships, and the people who are receiving that communication who maybe aren't used to that, or, it's not a normal dynamic in the relationship or the way that we communicate with each other. Initially, it can be kind of jolting, wow, you've changed, or what are you talking about, or, whatever. But what we're doing is we are normalizing, we are creating a safe path forward for speaking with integrity, with this power, and, really clearing the air. I love it's completely and finally, quickly and to the point. So I'm feeling that too. Just looking over our spread, I'm very curious to see what Sleigh Ride's message is. It gives me like sort of chariot vibes, but I'm going to check that out in just a moment. Final transit to mention for this week, the 23rd, Mars enters Aquarius, which is all about breaking free from the crowd. So inspiration strikes unexpectedly to call for urgent action on our most unique ideas. So motivation aligns with independence and bold originality to set the self apart from the crowd today. following our own rules strictly leads directly to the success always wanted and deserved. Yeah, so Aquarius is coming in here on a mission to like really pull out of us all of the quirky and creative and bold expressions of our most authentic selves. And again, like really creating a safe space for others to do the same. We're normalizing it. I keep feeling that word, like, it's the new normal, if we want to use that crazy word. But nonetheless, I digress. Let's get into it. Let's check out our cards now and see what's coming up for our week ahead. All right, here we go. We're starting with Monday, the Magician. How awesome is that? This is our universal energy for the year, card 1 of the major arcana, as a part of the supporting archetypes for this year, the Magician. So it comes in here with this message to set the tone for the week. And I mentioned earlier about, how am I wielding my wands in the world? And so that's where we begin as we start this week. And we're going to take a look at the Winter Season Tarot's take on the Magician and build on that. So it says, what you see and believe is a reflection of the thoughts and feelings that reside within you. Visualize what you want, not what you don't want. Even if you don't yet believe it, think it, and then put it out into the universe so that it comes back to you. You have everything you need to create your desired outcome. Nothing is holding you back from manifesting what you want. With your feet planted into the snow and your mind reaching for the stars, you have what it takes to bring that sparkle to the forefront of your reality. Yes, that is what I say, the Magician. You have all the tools you need, right? You just need a willingness to use them, play with them, right? Try different things, find out what works and what doesn't. Most importantly, to have a willingness to make mistakes, to discover cause and effect, trial and error. And so I love that she's blowing on the sparkles in the snow here. But what I was thinking was with the fire, tending to a fire. And it's been a minute since my camp girl days where we would, and I did used to know how to build all those different types of the teepee fire and the box fire and all the different things and tie all the knots and everything. It's, like I said, been a minute, but tending to a fire with that kindling, with those little bits to get it started, just smoldering. And then we have to breathe life into it, right? It needs oxygen in order to thrive, that fire, to keep it going, to keep it warm. So there's this sense of, where am I putting my focus and my energy? Like if I'm blowing a whole bunch of hot air around about all the things that I hate, about all the things that are wrong, about all the things that I don't have, or that I, how much more work I have to do to get there, or everything that I see in the world that is wrong and upsetting and broken and all the things, am I putting my energy into that? Am I blowing a lot of air around about that? Or am I targeting and focusing my energy into what I wish to build and thrive? So I'm feeling it like building a fire, like building a campfire, tending to that fire, keeping that flame going. So I think there's a lot of, and this is going to be like the Saturnian influence this year too, as well, about checking in to be like, okay, tough love moment, but like that master teacher energy says, okay, this is what you want. This is what's going on. What are you doing to get there? What steps are you taking? What type of discipline, Capricorn is saying, what type of discipline are you applying when it comes to, building this, to taking these steps? So we're really being called to take inventory on where we're putting our focus, how we're building our fire. Let's put it that way. Yeah, I'm feeling that because we're moving ever closer towards launching into this year of the fire horse. We're going to talk about sleigh ride in a bit. That really feels like we're building a fire and we're tending to it. So I love that coming in to get us started with such an amazing, powerful card. Number 1, the Magician. So let's take a look now
that, the one that's getting our attention back there, the potential blocker challenge this week with Tuesday's card. All right, Tuesday, bringing forward a potential block or challenge, and look what she's gotten herself into. So I teased when I pulled the cards, I said, I have a story about this, and it's not that exciting, but it's like, I think we've all experienced this, whether we tried it firsthand or we know someone who did, but yes, I have done this. It was on a street sign pole, so a metal pole on the corner of our of our street. We had the neighborhood bully, and his nickname was quite appropriately Champ. And Champ would really, run the neighborhood. He was like, I can't remember the guy's name. I'm thinking of A Christmas Story, and the kid bully who, got everybody fired up. But it's like that betting double dog daring of a kid to like see what happens if you put your tongue on this flagpole or this icicle. Well, I did it because he pressured me, and everybody was expecting me to do it, and I did. And it was stuck. It got stuck very quickly, and I know that I left behind a little piece of myself on that flagpole or that street sign. So anyway, as I just took a peek at the winter season tarot, I think she's about to describe pretty appropriately what that first tug back feels like when you have found yourself stuck. Okay, so Tuesday's energy coming in here for the week, our potential blocker challenge. So it says, the fear of entrapment is real when you take your warm mouth and place it on a cold object in the cold outdoors. Your tongue gets stuck and you suddenly go into fear mode of how you are going to get your tongue off of it. You have to zone in, think clearly, and figure it out. Slowly but surely, you manage to get it off, but seriously, good luck. It is painful. And Danielle's sharing that this happened to her as a kid as well. So she's in good company. So it says, you don't know until you know, and then you will never do it again. So, hey, right there, we've got an extension of the magician energy, because it's saying, hey, if you're feeling blocked, challenged by the notion of like just doing it, just going for a thing. Now, let me just clarify. I am not suggesting that you try licking an icicle. But I'm saying that it's carrying the sentiment of, the idea that once you do a thing that ends up not being a great move or didn't work out, now you know, and you're not going to do it again. So it's information gathering. So this feels like a definite like confirmation of that thought. And then we go into the message, which says, your thoughts are the only thing trapping you from moving forward from this situation. You have created this victim mindset within yourself that you are holding on to so dearly. But if you took a moment to see the multitude of paths that surround you, you would see that you have the freedom to move forward and transform. If you change the way that you think, then you will be able to change your life and get out of this entrapment. Yeah, I mean, that's what the Eight of Swords is about feeling like our options are few and limited, and we're trapped in a way that actually, with some out-of-the-box thinking or with some clarity of mind and also expanding our vision, we find that we have much more options available than we may have first thought. And it is bringing me into this one because it did also, again, mention the path in the guidance here. But again, if I imagine that I'm at the bottom of this ladder and I'm thinking, I don't know if that's safe. That looks a little rickety, that ladder. And I can't see what's up there from down here. So then I'm feeling like, I don't know if I'm going to go for it because it might not hold me. It might not be safe. I don't know what's up there, and a million other reasons that the ego starts acting overtime to keep us playing small, to keep us grounded, but not in the best way. I mean it in the way of being stuck, of being unable to move. So I feel that connection here too, which again, I did share the messages that came through with this card in the New Moon Empowerment reading. So that was all there. If you hadn't seen that yet, you can go back to the link that I shared here ahead of the card pulls. But this card, I think, is just brilliantly demonstrating for us that when we find ourselves stuck, and especially if it's in a situation of our own making, because, hey, we're the one that licked the icicle, that take a beat, come in and look outside of, that initial fear thought, that initial jolt that we get when you try to move and you get pulled right back. So there's an energy coming in that we're working in this week that does feel like we have an opportunity to expand the mind and the vision and being able to step into something even before we have all the details, before we know everything there is to know about it, because we are being encouraged to act off of our own inner knowing and trust and having faith in the journey, and also in our own ability to make that magic, to keep at it. So very interesting. A lot of different ways the Eight of Swords can show up, but it does show that if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling like your options are few, that it's a message that's saying, hold on and look again and go wide and pan out and see big picture. So again, all of these cards, as they come up, they're going to vary how they show up for you specifically, but we are tapping into, from a collective perspective, just kind of the frequency of the energies this week. And as I mentioned, we have a lot of Mercury activity, so that is definitely doing the sword thing of in the mind, our thoughts, our beliefs, our ideas, and our communications. So let's take a look now at this beautiful card coming up for Wednesday for our midweek blessing. All right, Wednesday's energy, our midweek blessing. It's bringing us a beautiful custom card in this deck. So in addition to the 78 cards of the tarot here in the winter season tarot, Danielle has also blessed us with a couple extra cards, and this is the first one. It's called Sleigh Ride, and it's absolutely beautiful. And so she's recounting how, when I was a kid, one of my favorite winter school trips was to one of the local farms for a sleigh ride and hot chocolate. The best times to go were during a fresh snowfall. I would sit there bundled up with thick blankets and my classmates surrounding me. I used to pretend that no one was around me and it was just me. The pull and yank of the sleigh and the trees whizzing by me. I would close my eyes and just allow the feeling to pulse through me. It was magical and calming. I think it's interesting that I shared a story that's going back to those school days and the kids and all those things. And then, that echo is happening here in her recounting those days. So again, as we're stepping into the new and we're feeling the things that are ending and pulling away, there's this nostalgia, there's this looking back, there's this reminiscing and reconciling in a way with the way that those experiences in our younger years have actually done so much to inform where we find ourselves now anew. And rediscovering those things within ourselves, and the magic and the curiosity and the joy and all of those things. So the meaning with this sleigh ride card says, allow yourself to escape into a magical world where it is just you. It is okay to leave the stress of this world behind and travel into dreamland, even just for a moment. This card is truly about allowing yourself to escape into the dream, to dream whatever is in your heart, even if it might not ever come true. Yeah, like I said, big, expansive, as high as you can go, as high as you can reach. This is where we're being guided, because this is the time to really be leveraging the energy and the momentum that's starting to build. So we're clearing, we're releasing, we're letting go of those heavy, dense things that are dragging and holding us there, pulling us back like that Eight of Swords. And it's mostly all our own limiting beliefs and ideas. And we understand how they maybe came to be, or if we give some time to actually sitting with it and exploring it more deeply, we could come into a greater understanding. And we certainly have a lot of astrological weather this week that was creating a hospitable environment for sudden flashes of insight and awareness and understanding around certain things in our lives. So this feels truly as a blessing, positioned in the middle of the week, I love the beautiful sleigh ride energy that we can imagine. Yes, just closing your eyes and going for the ride and allow yourself to feel that magical momentum building. With that, let's take a look at Thursday for how we are growing. Now we have Thursday coming in here with how are we growing and how might we expect to continue growing into now Aquarius season? And we got the 5 of Wands. So the 5 is definitely bringing in the frequency of change, transition, and in that can be, yes, some chaos and confusion. I will say, in honor of Aquarius season, it's also the number of the individual, the independent, the freedom-seeking, rebel energy too. So it really is feeling like, we are moving and growing into this season through the lens of looking at how we have been stirring around this old energy. We talked about that through the course of these cards. Like, are we going to just keep on stirring around the same old, or are we going to let our inspired ideas and visions move us? So the take on this card says, snowball, snowball, snowball fight. When the playful snowball fight starts off as fun, but ends in hurt and chaos. It says sometimes the energy gets to be too much to handle. Inner turmoil has put you in the position of conflicting ideas and situations. You may feel trapped by the conflict and fighting that surrounds you as well as within you. If you can no longer take the overwhelming feelings that go along with the heavy energy, remove yourself for a timeout or altogether. Pay close attention. Yeah, so this is that one of like in the fray of the fight, and this one isn't really necessarily talking about competition, although that is an aspect of the 5 of Wands in terms of one-upmanship and needing to step on whoever or smack whoever in the face with a snowball, as it's showing here. That it's like, it almost looks like it's like talking about it's all fun and games until it's not, until it turns serious, until someone starts packing rocks in the middle of their snowball, And so this is where, tensions could be rising and heating up. Certainly, when we look out into the collective, we look out into the wider world, there's a whole lot going on we could make snowball analogies about. But, speaking to how we are growing from a collective perspective, we know that it starts with us, and it's like, if I'm not there on the other side to receive that snowball in the face, and I'm not contributing to continuing to pummel people with snowballs, then I can choose to take myself out of the fray and once again wield my wand in a different direction. And then maybe I'll start up a group moving in a different direction than participating in the snowball fight, So there is this growth in recognizing that we don't have to participate in all that. And where am I putting my energy? Again, the magician comes in to say, where am I wielding my wands? Where do I want to focus on fueling this fire? And what types of fires do I want to fuel? And then when I get clear on that, then I'm doing the checklist to see that my actions, my reactions, my inactions are all in alignment with what it is that I say I wish to create, the magic I want to make in the world. So it's kind of checking in with us and keeping us, let's say, honest on, hey, am I getting involved in the fray of the snowball fight, or am I backing off and deciding to go in a different direction? And that is something that we all have the ability to do at any time, no matter what that 8 of Swords might try to tell us, to say, I can't, I'm stuck here, I can't look away, or, how can I not? Those are all sometimes very valid points of view and arguments, but ultimately, we don't want to just keep stirring all that fray around. The time for change is now, and we are in the thick of it. And so there is a message about coming back into the heart and using your sparks and your inspired actions to contribute for the whole. And that's where we land as we turn towards Friday for our final tarot message, which is definitely bringing us into that heart chakra. So let's take a look at that one. Okay, our Friday card is our final tarot energy for the week. And we got this beautiful Knight of Cups. And so with this one, we're getting a little bit of the spiritual meaning of the polar bear coming into the essence of the Knight of Cups, action-oriented energy in the heart, because it's in the suit of cups, that it's the mission. And so in this mission, the spiritual meaning of the polar bear comes in to say that the polar bear is a symbol of determination, balance, and perseverance. Connecting to polar bear spirit, you will be able to find peace and harmony while also being encouraged to care for your loved ones. They encourage confidence and provide you with stamina to get through all obstacles. So it's saying, dig deep and explore your feelings. Not only do you wear your heart on your sleeve, but you are also in love with love itself. Create balance in order to see clearly what your heart space is helping you to see and feel. Your inspiration stems from creativity and love all around you. You are in touch with your intuition, visions, and emotions. Yeah, I'm getting a little no man is an island when I look at this guy standing on that little icy patch, because even though it does seem to be sort of free floating right there and detached from some of the other icebergs and the little masses we see there, you know, there is this sense of we're all out here, right? We're all on these individual fool's journeys, and yet we're all inextricably connected. And when we connect through the heart, that is where we are at our most pure. And, you know, the knight bringing in this mission of restoring that love. And yeah, there is an idyllic nature to it that says, you know, in love with love itself and wearing one's heart on their sleeve. And there can be a need to sort of pull back with a Knight of Cups to say, am I allowing my emotions to get the better of me? Right? And that, you know, that can actually send us into a spiral where, you know, we're out of alignment, or where we are, you know, off floating out there, you know, so that's where we have to reel it back in, and we're being encouraged to be, to put the energy, put the focus, put the mission into the heart. And by utilizing this inspiration of the polar bear, again, it is calling for determination, balance, perseverance, but we've got what it takes. And so to stay at it and to continue to love fiercely and to support and care for all those around you as much as yourself as well. So I think that's a really beautiful way to move us with this magic, the spark that sets us into the week, to realigning our thoughts, our ideas, and our inspired actions, and then making moves with those beautiful, with the sleigh ride coming forward, and then also checking in with, you know, what we've been in a futile way. What would be the right way? I want to say that in that tense. It's been futile. With futility, we've been stirring around that poo. We've been throwing around those snowballs. And now we're being encouraged to set out on a mission, a heart-centered mission. And really, you know, again, I love the white too, because it's giving me some clean slate energy. New cycle. A new cycle as we've just come through a new moon, initiating a new cycle because we are now in a new season with Aquarius, and so much more. So let's take a look, right as we are stepping into that new, our final card with our Dreamweaver's Oracle message that says, when it's time to say goodbye. Okay, our final card for the week coming in from the Dreamweaver's Oracle, and this one is card 32, when it's time to say goodbye. And I mentioned in the card pulls, this is 32, 3 and 2 is a 5 energy, just like our 5 of Wands. We are in this time of change. We are in transition, which can certainly not only bring some chaos and confusion, but cause us to want to cling and hold on to what we know, what's familiar, even if we know that it's broken, even if we know that it hasn't been serving us for a long time. Those old fears, those old limiting beliefs, those relationships that we've outgrown, all of it. We might cling on for fear, right? And so I love that this card seems to really be hitting on, and we're going to explore the message here in a moment from the Oracle, but, really feeling that connection to our potential block and challenge this week with the Eight of Swords, because again, it's like this boomerang effect of like, as we're trying to move on, it's pulling us back, but it's very much in our heads, in our beliefs and fears that have been programmed into us for that very reason, right? So let's take a look and see what this one is bringing forward to finish out our messages. So when it's time to say goodbye brings the essential meaning of completions, endings, death leading to new beginnings, and loss. It says, when it's time to say goodbye, it's time to end one way of being and move on to a new chapter in your life. This can be accompanied by pain because you have to say goodbye to someone you love, someone who has meant something to you, someone important. You may not want to let go, but you must face the loss and the grief and bless what was. Other times, it's necessary that you purposefully put an end to something. Perhaps you need to walk away from an unhealthy relationship to be true to yourself. Or maybe a connection has run its course, and that is just how it is. Right now, you're meant to close the door on a part of your life so that you can begin something new, something meaningful, and designed for your beautiful self-expression, success, and happiness. You can be sure it's time for a different experience, a more aligned, authentic way for you to be in the world. You've come so far. Be brave and bless all that has come before now. Who will you become? So much magic awaits. That's at least the third card that has used the word magic or magical that we've pulled today. But yeah, a couple of different things there because especially like initially when we're talking about accompanied with pain and loss, saying goodbye to someone we love or someone that's meant something to us. And certainly that can be the case in terms of other people outside of us who, for a whole host of different reasons, including, tremendous loss in death and in other ways that people may shift and change their presence in our life. But also, I'm feeling aspects of our own self, a version of us that must die, has to pass on, has to change form in order for a new version of us to be born. And, this happens all the time. And it's not something that we necessarily call like that, like the death of a version of us or the passing the torch to a new upgraded version of us. But that aspect of us is still in there, And so many different ways that this thing that we're clinging on to could show up, that we are definitely being encouraged. And we've seen this through many angles of the cards that have come through here to say, what am I holding on to? What is holding on to me? That it's time for me to release with love, with gratitude, with reverence for the role that it has played in my life and for all that I have learned from it, whether it be a lesson, a blessing, even if it's showing me something I will never do again, right? It's all serving. It's all necessary on our fool's journey. So I really think this is a perfect punctuation mark to these messages coming in. And I'm sitting here thinking, do I have a deck that would actually talk about the axolotl? Because I'd love to see the spiritual energy of that, but I don't know that I do. So now I have to go look out there on the interwebs to see, because I think it's so cute that they use the axolotl here in this message. So if I find anything to share, I will certainly pop back with that guidance. But I think for sure we're seeing a lot of beautiful symbolism, not just in this card, but in all the cards that have come forward for us this week. And several of them, I can feel the connection to the new moon energy cards that came forward as well, which they came up, and I'll just show you because I have them here real quick. I'm just going to rearrange, put them back in their order. I'll show you a little sneaky peek at the cards that did come up in that card pull that I did for the New Moon Empowerment reading, and then we'll go ahead and close it out. So yes, for the New Moon Empowerment reading, we used another beautiful winter-inspired deck, which is the Seasons of the Witch Winter Tarot. And so from our 4-card spread that I did, that you can see in that time-lapse video I shared with you ahead of our card pulls tonight, these are the 4 cards that came forward from that other deck that we get into. The 6 of Winter Wands, the Winter Hanged Man, the 9 of Winter Pentacles, and the Apprentice of Winter Swords. This was the one that ended the spread for the next 6 months. And this is what I was seeing as I was feeling into all of that astrological weather this week, like a lightning bolt, like a flash, like something that's moving through here in this way that is illuminating and light giving, and energy is really like picking up. And there's this sense of, you know, where we're going from here with a degree of, again, that discipline, the determination, the responsibility, you know, all those things that is Capricorn's gift to us as it heads on out of here. And that Aquarius makes possible for us to now take and move forward in new and innovative ways. So again, if you want to expand on these messages, check out that New Moon Empowerment reading. I'll send you the first part, which is about an hour, where we get into all of these cards, as well as the Oracle card and the bits that I did share with you, the astrological weather ritual, and then I will pull a card for you. And so if you have already received the New Moon Empowerment reading from me this week as a part of the Empowerment Pack, or you want to join just for that reading, that would be a way to receive a card pull this week, a personal card pull, because that would be going along with that comprehensive offering as I continue to also work through our year ahead readings. So thank you so much for being here. I am sending you all so much love and many, many new moon blessings. Take good care.